Capricorn, welcome to your forecast for June 2024. To those of you who are new, I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au, and I've animated the chart here to make it a little easier for you to follow what I'm saying. You'll notice here a cluster of planets in this sixth house. We count from Capricorn, which is your sun sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Sun, Venus, and Jupiter. And then on the 3rd of June, the entry of Mercury, adding more weight to this conjunction, or what we call a stellium, in your sixth house in Gemini. The sixth house is your workplace activities. It's the way you work, it's where you work, it's the relationships, and of course with Mercury, the communication you have with your co-workers. And most importantly, it is your health, it's your well-being. The sixth house shows the diseases, the stresses and strains on your physical well-being. And when there's too much energy here, it's time for a change. And when is that change? It starts on the 6th of June with that lunar transit, the new moon there in the 6th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. That new moon is telling us something very significant, Capricorn. I think you already know, and we may have touched on this previously, that the way in which you work is more important than what you do for work. It's not what you do, but the way that you do it, and that's what really counts. That's that old song. I don't know what that song is, but I remember it from childhood. But I think it's apt for the current forecast that I'm giving you here. The sixth house has to do with those stresses in your work. Now, when there's a conglomeration of planets in one area of the horoscope, it indicates that there's a heaviness in that area, possibly a dispersion of energies, throwing your energy in all directions, scattergun, so to speak. So it's very, very important for you to collect, to gather up those energies. It's possibly time for a pause, even though we can see that it's time for a big change with that new moon, to establish exactly what it is that you want to do. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What we call the Ben Franklin close. Draw a line down the center of the page, the positive and the negatives. What is it in your work predominantly that's stressing you out? Can you change that? If not, then you need to find mechanisms for coping with that, adjusting to it, or alternatively leaving. Preferably you can adjust, especially if it's work that you enjoy doing. And actually my experience is that most of the time the problem that people have is the fact that they don't particularly enjoy the work that they're doing. So I think that's an important question, and one that will arise spontaneously as that new moon comes around. You'll notice on the 9th, straight after the new moon, we have the transit of Mars into your 5th house. That's a very competitive position. It shows that it may be part and parcel of what's been going on in your workplace, competing with co-workers, enemies, your combatants. A bit of a better cycle we see there on the 17th with Mercury and Venus transiting into that 7th house, which is the way you deal with other people. Those two planets fortify those relationships. It's very, very good for your personal life, your marital status. Venus is the planet of love. The Sun here also brings a dynamic energy into that area of your horoscope, and the full moon also in Capricorn on the 22nd casts its emotional light onto that area of your horoscope. That full moon starts to come back down in power after that, making contact with Pluto, which is retrograde in your finance sector. Some intense sort of commercial activities may take place over the 25th and 26th. And then we bring our attention to this Saturn planet, the transit of the moon, will activate Saturn. But there's a second factor that I think is very, very important in this third house of communication and contracts for those of you that are looking to go into business, possibly purchase property, enter into long-term committed relationships. Saturn on the 30th will move into its stationary retrograde phase. That's going to take place for a couple of months. It's going to, there it is there. It's going to ask you to, reconsider. Go back over what you thought was true, what was a sure thing, and consider some of the factors that may not have been in the picture at that time. Retrogression usually shows us something has been overlooked, there can be some confusion or a need to go into a little more detail. Speaking of more detail, follow the links to astrology.com.au for more detail on June 2024 for you, Capricorn. You've got more information there on the transits for the month, weekly, daily and yearly transits, all free, yours for the taking. In exchange, please subscribe. You could use your subscription. Love to hear from you. If you've got a note to drop me, I'll respond. And don't forget, I'll be back next month. Hope you'll join me. Till then, stay safe. Bye-bye now.